Good morning, Laith. Thank you very much to accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much, Abdel Jalil.
Thank you. Laith, Israel has been accused of not respecting the last ceasefire agreement. How do you assess the impact of this violation of regional stability and on Lebanon's security?
Well, clearly this war has been ongoing for more than 100 years now, and it will not stop this war until either the Zionists are defeated and or there's no more Palestinians, Arabs, or Muslims in the world. This is an existential war, and over the last 100 years, there's been many ceasefires and peace treaties signed between the colonialists and the indigenous people, and none of that was ever respected. Obviously, there's only a slowing down of the war and then a return to full war, then slowing down, then return to full war. This is what has been going on for the last 100 years. And the imperialist envoy, Thomas Barak, said things very clearly over the last month. One of those things that he said is that there will never be peace in the region here. There will only be a dominated party and a submissive, submitting party. So dominating and a submitting, and that's all that it is. So it's a very similar situation to what happened to the indigenous people in the Americas. We're back to the outright genocide and colonialism of the 1700s. And now it's all revealed. In terms of peace and security in the region, again, there will never be any until we either defeat this colony and or we're all dead, and or our numbers are so small that we can't fight back, like the indigenous people in the United States, for instance. So the effect on stability in the region, there will not be any stability in Lebanon here. We're getting ready for a new war, a new full-scale war. We're living it every day that the Zionists are attacking Lebanon and assassinating and killing civilians. Just yesterday there was 3 attacks. Today there's already 2 attacks on cars and motorcycles. So this is going to continue, and we will be back to full-scale war any minute now.
Given the current tension, do you believe that Hezbollah might be drawn into a new large-scale confrontation with Israel?
I think Hezbollah has been, getting ready for this war from the minute the ceasefire was called, whatever ceasefire that is. So Hezbollah has reorganized its structures. It has resupplied its arms. It has planned new strategies and tactics. And for sure, we will be back in war. What is good about what happened over the last 9 months of this quote-unquote ceasefire is that Hezbollah was able to assess the stage here in Lebanon and around it, forgetting what's happening inside the Zionist colony and its capabilities. Meaning, the empire wanted to use the Lebanese government and the Lebanese military to confront Hezbollah, and that failed. And Hezbollah was able to assess that over the last few months. Also, the empire wanted to use the HTS Wahhabi death squads in Syria to possibly invade Lebanon on behalf of the Zionist colony. And again, there was multiple attempts at that, or at least tests of that possibility, as happened in North Lebanon. And again, that turned out to be a failure strategy. So now Hezbollah understands and knows that if there is going to be any war on Lebanon again, that the enemy is going to be just the Zionists. Nobody else will be joining this battle, the Zionists and the imperialists behind them, of course, but nobody else, either HTS or local militias that are loyal to the empire or the Lebanese military, will be involved in an attack on Hezbollah. And therefore, we're back to the same balance of power, and Hezbollah has the upper hand in terms of any ground battle with the Zionist colony.
Iran remains a key regional player. In your view, is Tehran working to calm this situation, or is it using the crisis to extend its influence in Lebanon and beyond?
Well, there is no Iranian influence in Lebanon. There is allies to Iran in the axis of resistance. Iran has been, and maybe this was a weakness for Iran, Iran has been very careful over the last few decades building this axis of resistance, not to intervene or interfere in internal politics of the states that it allies with. For instance, we look at Iraq. There's a huge Shia population that are supporting the resistance. There is also collaborators with the Zionists, like the Kurdistan leadership and or some of the Sunni leadership. But Iran didn't invade Iraq, which it could. And in my opinion, it should have done so. And get rid of all of those collaborations, because it wants Iraq to have sovereignty and to decide on its own, and to convince the rest of the Iraqi population of the support of the axis of resistance. Similarly, this is how in Lebanon, Iran supports those who support it. It doesn't intervene in the internal politics of Lebanon. In my opinion, in this world we live in, where countries can occupy whatever they want to, like the United States, like Russia, like the Zionist colony, and that there is no international law, there's no more United Nations and all of the laws that came in after World War II. Iran, if it wants to survive and have a better upper hand in this battle, it should just also act the same way. It's very easy for Iran to, enter Iraq and remove all the vassals, but that's, again, it's not. I'm not the Iranian leadership. They can make their own decisions. Similarly, Lebanon, it's very easy to get rid of all the vassals that are here. And I say this as a Syrian, and I saw what happened in Syria when Iran decided to allow the local leadership to deal with this alone. We saw how Russia betrayed Syria and made a deal, basically chopping up Syria between the United States, Israel, Turkey, and Russia. So maybe the Iranian leadership will start thinking differently, but I doubt it. I think they have had, they made their political decisions and they've set their ideology. It's a similar situation with the nuclear weapons. The leadership of Iran keeps on saying, we will not have nuclear weapons. It's haram. It's against the Islamic religion. Even when it's clear that the West possibly will use nuclear weapons against Iran if they cannot defeat it in a non-nuclear battle, as has happened over the 12-day war, when the United States went as far as it can, just below the nuclear threshold in the attack on Iran. So Iran may find itself regretting that it didn't create a nuclear weapon, because in the next war, there is no there's no choice for Israel or the United States if they want to defeat Iran but to use nuclear weapons.
My last question, Saudi Arabia has long advocated for Hezbollah disarmament. What's Riyadh's real capacity to influence events on the ground today, and could it play a role in avoiding a wider war?
First off, the kingdom of the Saud family has been collaborating with the colonialists, the imperialists, since the end of World War I. King Abdulaziz of Al Saud, had long-term correspondence with Ben Gurion and others. They received, before the oil discovery in the west of Arabia, the east of Arabia, the Saud family received direct salaries from the British intelligence and Israeli Zionists, just like the Hashemite kings. So over the last 80 years, especially after the discovery of the oil, the Saud family had a lot of disposable income that they were ordered to basically use it to destroy any secular Arabic unificationist movements, any communist movements, any even Syrian nationalist or Palestinian liberation. In fact, in my opinion, the Saudis and the Israelis together were responsible for the assassination of Rafiq Hariri, the Prime Minister of Lebanon, in 2005. And that plot was to force the Syrian air defenses out of Lebanon in order for the Israelis to attack Lebanon in 2006, and Lebanon would not have any air defenses. And that's what happened. Similarly, in 2018, the Saudi regime kidnapped the Prime Minister of Lebanon, Saad Hariri, the son of the assassinated Rafiq Hariri, and they tied him up in a chair and slapped him around to resign on live broadcast from Riyadh from his position as Prime Minister. And in both cases, it was because Rafiq Hariri refused to have a confrontation with Hezbollah in 2005 when ordered by the Saudis. And then his son, again, refused to do so in 2018. And we saw how that ended. So now, while the Saudis for a long time were in control of the political parties that represented the Sunnis in Lebanon, because of those two incidents, the Saudis decided to make the Sunni Muslims in Lebanon orphan. Their political party doesn't have funding now from the Saudis, and they don't have much influence. And instead, the Saudis have been spending their money on the Christian supremacist Phalange, Kataib, and Quwwat parties, the Lebanese forces and the Lebanese and the Kataib, the Phalange. And this is where they're investing their money. The Hariri dynasty is practically out of politics, and the Future Party is unable to, take a hold of the Sunni population in Lebanon. So Saudi will never work for peace in Lebanon because they want the destruction of Lebanon as an opponent to the Zionists. And because Lebanon is truly the most free country in the world in terms of freedom of speech and freedom of media. Lebanon hosts all the media that is in Arabic that is critical of the Zionists and the empire. There's no other place right now in the Arabic world where this is true. In fact, it's the only place in the world, not only in the Arabic world, that you can criticize the Zionists and have a mass media like a television station or a radio station or a daily newspaper. You can't find that even anywhere in the West, such publications or media outlets. So no, the Saudis will not try to limit the possibility of war in Lebanon. On the contrary, they're trying to accelerate it.
Excuse me, Laith, what about Ahmed Julani? Excuse me, I keep his name of Al-Qaeda. Ahmed Charaa. How do you see his role in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, you're right to call him Al-Julani, because Al-Charaa family have all come out and said they don't know who this man is. He's definitely a CIA, Saudi, Mossad manufactured personality. We saw, of course, how, just 2 days ago or the last 2 days he was in the United States, getting his orders from his masters. It's the first Syrian president. Wow, the first leader of whatever Syria is right now to ever come into the White House. This man is a head chopper. He's a terrorist that has the blood of tens of thousands, if not of hundreds of thousands of Syrians and Iraqis and Palestinians on his hand. At the same time, right now there is no such thing as a Syrian government. This man just controls a few cities in Syria. The rest of Syria is under control of the Israelis, the Turks, the Americans, the Russians, who are all looting the resources of the country. Israel looting the water, the United States looting the oil, the Russians looting the gas, and the Turks looting all the factories and the agricultural products of Syria. So this man is just a front, a puppet, and I don't think his main job right now is to create schisms in Syria between the population, to make sure that even if he falls, that the country will be hard to put back together, because Syria is the most important country in the whole of West Asia and North Africa in terms of determining the path of what we would call the Arabic peoples, okay, and their history. This is not, chauvinism because I'm Syrian or something, but this is the truth. You look at 4,000 years of history in the region, and whoever controls Damascus and the Syrian geography can control the rest of what is now called the Arabic world. And because of this history, it can, the country, even after being cut off in World War II into, from Lebanon and Iraq and Jordan and Palestine, it still is viable to, be able to resist. It had enough oil and gas to run its factories and electricity. It had enough arable land to feed its people. This is why Syria, before the war on Syria started in 2011, 2012, was one of the only countries in the world that has zero debt internationally, zero, and had a reserve of 7 years of oil, gas, wheat, rice, everything that you can think about. It had a reserve where its population can never go hungry. Medical care and schooling was free. There was 3 generations, people building homes and owning their homes. There was nobody homeless, basically. Now it's destroyed, the country, and the accumulated wealth of the population has disappeared. So everybody's homeless, everybody's poor, and all the resources are looted. So if Syria is allowed to stand by itself again, it can be a competitor to even something like the Saudis with all oil money. And that's what happened. Syria was the center of cultural production and knowledge in the region, even under 60 years of blockade and sanctions. That's the power of geography. That's the power of history. So I don't think Syria will be allowed to come together anytime soon. But because of all of this history, there could be a revolt coming soon. Remember, the Syrian revolution against French occupation predated even the Algerian resistance. And Syria was the first country on this planet to win its sovereignty and independence after World War II through armed struggle. And the Syrian people, to kick out the French, sacrificed, gave 1 million martyrs. To be independent in 1942. So I don't expect the Julani to stay for long in power. The situation is too volatile for him to be able to control the country, and his masters don't want him to even control the country.
Thank you very much again. Thank you, my friend Laith, to accepting our invitation. See you again. Thank you. Goodbye.
Have a nice day, Amdajan.